I don't know how to explain this. It was never intended for me to know that Janelle was moving. One of my children at their admission slipped up and told me and then said, please don't repeat that or pretend you never heard it.
I didn't tell Kody. I didn't see any reason to tell him. Our lives are not overlapping in any way. I just didn't really feel like it was any of his business what I was doing.
Hi friends, it's Kody from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday, January 31st, 2025. This is going to be, on Sunday, the mid-season finale of Sister Wives for season 19. It'll be episode number 20. That means there's going to be 20 more episodes. Whoa, that's a long season. Now, I don't know how long the break is, but typically a mid-season finale means there's going to be a break, a hiatus of sorts between the next part of the season and this one. But there's no tell-all according to the TLC's schedule that I've looked into, so I don't know where the tell-all fits into all of this. But we've gotten through 20 episodes of the season, and it's been sort of weird. You know, one thing that I see missing in this season is Garrison Brown, and it could be that the producers just decided to cut out any content with Garrison. It could also be that Janelle never filmed with Garrison, though I do find that kind of suspicious because in every other season, he had been a part of the show. So it's hard because now it's like he's suddenly gone. And then another person that has been missing is Dayton Brown. And a lot of you have been asking, where is Dayton? Where did he go? Okay, I wish it were this weird conspiracy, but the conspiracy that he moved to Montana to live with his dad is not true. David Dayton Brown does not live in Montana. He still lives in Flagstaff. As far as I know, up until the point that they bought that house, the new house, he was living in an RV on their property. And their new house has a guest house, and I'm guessing that's where David lives now. He goes by David in the real world. And as far as why he's not on the show, he doesn't want to film, as far as I understand. He doesn't want to be a part of the show. He never really enjoyed being a part of the show. He does have autism, and I know that the filming aspect of it was hard for him, according to some of the siblings. So don't think that they're ignoring him. I think he just doesn't want to be a part of it. And when someone doesn't want to be a part of the show, a lot of times they don't talk about those kids. And if you notice, they don't talk about a lot of the kids that aren't wanting to film. So in the mid-season finale, Janelle is going to be moving, and she's moving to North Carolina. Now, there appears to be two separate timelines because last week we find out that Christine bought a property in Moab, and that actually occurred in 2024. So she bought that property, I think it was last spring, maybe last summer. And I'm pretty sure that Janelle made the permanent move to North Carolina around that same time in spring or summer of 2024. So Kody and Robin's filming was where they were out at the property, and they said it was right before school started, was in September of 2023, according to McKelty. But then Christine and Janelle's storyline was all the way into spring of 2024. So McKelty was saying on her Patreon that she truly believes that they just do not have enough content, and they are trying to piece together episodes because no one in the family is talking. So the timelines aren't consistently matching up. So Janelle moves, and Kody says that he was not supposed to know about it, and he only found out about it because he questioned one of his children. I would actually call what Kody does as interrogation, and the way that he talks about Janelle in here feels kind of stalkerish. Check it out.
I don't know how to explain this. It was never intended for me to know that Janelle was moving. One of my children at their admission slipped up and told me and then said, please don't repeat that or pretend you never heard it.
I didn't tell Kody. I didn't see any reason to tell him. Our lives are not overlapping in any way. I just didn't really feel like it was any of his business what I was doing.
I want to share that part of what they're talking about where he says, I am not supposed to know about this. He said, I don't know how to say this, but I'm not supposed to know about this. And then he said, one of my kids slipped up and told me. I think he was probably interrogating one of his kids. And I'm assuming the kid he's talking about is McKelty because I don't know what other kid would have told him that Janelle was moving. McKelty was also a person that slipped up and said that Janelle was moving on Patreon a year ago. And I think the person that slipped up is McKelty. But the reason why I want to highlight that is because this highlights an extremely dangerous part of leaving polygamy. And there's been a lot of conversations about how it's not hard to leave the AUB and how anyone can just leave no matter what. And it's, people can come and go, no one cares. You're not shunned, you're not kicked out. It's not like the FLDS. But someone that is cousins with Christine was telling me a story about when they left. And then they also shared a story about another family that left and the lengths that the parents went to find the family that left the AUB. So the woman that I spoke to, who's first cousins with Christine, said that when she was leaving her ex, and she was a plural wife, I think she was the second or third wife, and her ex was very physically harmful to her. And she said that when she was leaving, one of the brethren was very unhappy with her decision to leave. And she was being followed by that brethren's wife, not her mom, but another one of the wives. So her mom was actually married to someone who died. And then she was taken up by this guy that's on the brethren. And so this guy isn't really her father. She didn't grow up with him. Her mom was added to him like after she had grown, but he was tracking her every movement because he did not want her to leave. And she said that it was really uncomfortable because they were trying to stop her from leaving. And she mentioned that when women do leave, this is not uncommon. And she shared this story with me. So there was a couple that left the AUB very publicly, and they left sort of in the middle of the night, and they lived on a compound that is in southern Utah. So there's several different compounds that the AUB has. And when you live in the United Order of the AUB, whether it's in Pinesdale or if you live in Eagle Mountain, there's one in Eagle Mountain. If you live there's one in Rocky Ridge, and there's one in Mount Pleasant. And so these are like closed communities where only members of the cult live. And most of the property is owned by the cult, and then people build houses. They own their houses, but they don't own the property, kind of like what the FLDS did. And when you live in those communities, it's not super easy to leave. And so this family left one of those communities, and the father of the girl that left with her husband was trying to locate her because he didn't want her to leave polygamy because her husband was leaving. And the husband took both of his wives out of the AUB. And so in order to figure out where she was, one of the sister's siblings was going to go visit, but had not told the father about where she was going. The father found out that she was going to visit, and he put a GPS tracker in a diaper bag to find the daughter, to bring her back. And he went there and got her, and to go get her, and she wouldn't come back. But that is the lengths that these men will go. They will stalk, they will put trackers on their cars, they will try to intimidate women to come back, they will use their children, they will use their financial control and financial abuse, like what Kody's doing with Coyote Pass. And so they don't want to let their women go because they believe, because of the Doctrine and Covenants, that these women are their property and that they own them. And so when a woman leaves, it's like they're losing a car or they're losing a house. They want it back.
I kind of look at Mary still as a friend, and I'm sure both of us will mutually get back to that place. I have hope that Mary and I would just be friends. I hear about Christine falling in love and getting married and stuff like this, and I'm like going, well, good on Christine. Janelle was a different story. I always thought, I just felt like Janelle and I could have worked it out.
This comment by Kody about Janelle makes my hair on the back of my neck stand up because he said, I want to be friends with Mary. I think we can be friends. And then when I heard about Christine getting married and whatever, moving on, good on her, he wouldn't be saying this if he wasn't on a show. I guarantee you he wouldn't be saying that. And if you recall, when Mary went to the church and asked for a release, Dave Watson's daughter said publicly that Kody was screaming at him about Christine and not letting Christine get a release from him. Okay. And that even though Christine had left him and moved on, he still wanted to count Christine. He didn't want Christine removed from him. He wanted to still be able to count her as a number. And Janelle, he has said many times on this season in the past several episodes that Janelle and he are not going to reconcile. He has told Robin to let it go, to move on. Janelle is done with him. He has said that. There was no chance for reconciliation. He told Robin that they needed to consider monogamy and he wanted her to accept him as a monogamist. And then he's on camera acting like he is a monogamist and saying things like, you won't offend me if you say polygamy doesn't work. All of this, in my opinion, is for him to save face, and I don't believe it's how he actually feels. The fact that after all of those times saying, Janelle and I are done, Janelle and I are done, the minute she leaves and she's walking out the door and he doesn't know that she's going and it was kept a secret from him, which, by the way, it's not really a secret, by the way, if she leaves. It's not a secret. If they are not married, they're not, and they're not in a relationship, they're not, and they have broken up, they have. Janelle has no obligation to tell Kody where she goes and what she does. She doesn't have to tell Kody she's moving. She doesn't have to tell Kody she's buying a house. She doesn't have to tell Kody she's buying property. She's going on a vacation. She doesn't have to tell Kody if she's going to date. She doesn't have to tell Kody anything. Kody doesn't need to know anything. And their relationship is so contentious and Kody was so abusive to her. It is very clear to me that Janelle has placed a boundary there where she doesn't want to have contact with him. Same with Christine, right? And they don't want their kids communicating with Kody about what they're doing because they're aware of how Kody will react. And Kody, we saw what he did when Christine left. The knife in the kidneys, the screaming, the yelling, the demands for patriarchy, the verbal abuse, the you need to go get a release, I didn't give you permission. He said all of those things, and that's truly who Kody is. This Kody, this is all a front and it's fake. And I've talked to so many people that have left this culture and the cult, the AUB, and they'll say, no, Kody isn't actively a part of our church. That's true. But they would have classified him still as a fundamentalist. And even though he's not a polygamist, they don't believe that Kody is just going to give it up and just throw it away. They don't believe when Kody says he'll never take another wife. They don't believe when Kody says that polygamy doesn't work. They don't believe that Kody has somehow changed because Kody is still associating with people from the church, like his friend, Kyle Henderson. Okay. They still associate with Robin's family, who's still in the church. He still associates with his brother, Scott, who is still in the church, his mom, who's still in the church. Robin's extended family, like her mom is still in the church. Her sister Fawn is still in the church. Her sister Lisa is probably out, but lives in Pinesdale. I don't know if she's in, but she might still be. But they have family that are still in this church. And so they don't believe it that Kody says, I'm not a part of it. They don't believe it when Kody says, I'll never take another wife, because Kody's behavior to them is not indicative of someone that actually is done with polygamy. It's like he's just saying it for public. Like he's very aware of what happened to his reputation. He's very aware of how unhinged he's come off. He's very aware of the temper and the abusiveness he has shown. And so he's trying to now regroup and act like he's this like evolved person when he's not, because he still holds to the very fundamentalist values that are part of the Mormon faith. And if you heard him a couple episodes when Aurora was talking about faith and going to church, he was saying that he would love his kids to go to the Mormon church. He wanted his kids to have an experience in the LDS faith. That's what he wanted. And Robin told the kids that they don't have to go that route if they don't want to, but Kody says that that's really what he would prefer. He can't let go of the Mormon faith. So the problem herein lies that if Kody believes in the Mormon faith, and the reason that he ended up in the AUB was because he found out the truth about their doctrine. So people that grow up in the mainstream LDS will often seek out knowledge and information about the origin of the church and start looking for information about more about Joseph Smith. And they'll start reading the Journal of Discourse. They'll start looking at the writings. They'll start searching for historical records. And when they start learning the truth that the Doctrine and Covenants says that the only way that you can get to the celestial kingdom and become a god is through having polygamy, they have to practice polygamy. And so when someone is a convert from the LDS mainstream into the fundamentalism, their belief is that they have to practice the church and the system the way Joseph Smith mandated, because they believe he is who founded the church and his rules are the guide. And if he wrote that you have to do this, you do it. So Kody still believes this, clearly. And Kody is not just going to walk away. And obviously, the fact that he says that Janelle and I could have reconciled tells me that he was still thinking about it. And it's pretty shocking because it's not shocking. You should just never trust anything he says. If he says he's against polygamy, just believe that he is supporting it. If he says that he'll never have another wife, just assume he's out looking for one. If he says that he wants to be a monogamist, just assume that his ego is bruised and he wants to still be a polygamist, because he still wants his kids in the Mormon church. He wants them to have that experience, he says. He doesn't want them to go to a regular Christian church. And Kody and Robin did not join the church that Aurora did, or Brianna. They don't go there. They're not a part of that church. They're not Christians. They're still somehow fundamentalists. And Kody is scary, truly. So what are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.